Hello, everybody, and welcome into Sports Tonight. It is November 20th, and we have some big breaking news in the Atlanta sports scene. Connor Hines here with you on Sports Tonight, and it is now official. Chris Sale has won the National League Cy Young Award. For those that don't know, it goes to the best pitcher in baseball from each league each year, and Chris Sale, at the age of 35, is your National League Cy Young Award. We've got much more currently up on this on AtlantaNewsFirst.com. Just a huge accomplishment on a variety of levels just because of what Chris Sale has been able to do, but what he's been able to do at this age, right? 35 years old. Finally, the first time in his career that he's won this award. And the first headline I'm looking at on ESPN right now is, did Chris Sale pitch himself into the Hall of Fame this season? I mean, Ellie says yes behind the camera. 2024, 18-3 with a 2.38 ERA in 29 games, over 177 innings pitched, and 225 strikeouts. Just a really incredible accomplishment at his age, and the first Braves Cy Young winner since Tom Glavine did it in 1998. Thank you, producer Ellie, for the tidbits on that. And this is just a fun day to celebrate baseball in the middle of November because we don't get to talk about baseball very often. So Chris Sale was the favorite to win this award going into the night. And just moments ago, it was announced by none other than Greg Maddux. So a pretty cool full circle moment for this Cy Young Award. And I believe, Ellie, correct me if I'm wrong, but Tarek Skubal has won from the American League, or have they not? They have not announced the American League winner at this time of the recording. But Tarek Skubal from the Detroit Tigers, the favorite to win the Cy Young in the American League. So there you have it. Chris Sale is your National League Cy Young Award winner. Not a huge surprise to Braves fans, not a huge surprise to anybody really, but now we can say it's official once and for all. Let's talk about sports that are in season right now, because Atlanta United is still playing soccer. It is November 20th, and Atlanta United getting ready for their Eastern Conference semifinal match this Sunday in Orlando against Orlando City. In case you've been sleeping under a rock, oh my gosh, what a run it's been for Atlanta United. Had a less than 10% chance to make the playoffs on decision day. They needed help on decision day. Then they get into the playoffs, and you know the old adage, once you get in, anything can happen. Atlanta United has done exactly that, taking advantage of this opportunity, knocking off Miami, one of the best, if not the best, MLS team ever. Lionel Messi, loaded with talent, this Miami team, and Atlanta knocks him out of the first round, advances all the way to the Eastern Conference semifinals, and they're all doing it with interim manager Rob Valentino. Now, my 2 cents on the matter, give the man the job right now. You've beat Miami in 3 games. I don't think there's much more you can do to deserve a full-time head coach title. Beating Orlando on Sunday, his former team, by the way, team that Rob Valentino played for, that would all but lock it up. So we spoke to Rob Valentino last week, and we're getting ready for this Atlanta United match, Eastern Conference semifinals. I was able to speak with Rob one-on-one, so let's hear that interview from earlier last week now. So I think Brad called it fairy dust. What do you think it is for you guys right now that's letting this happen?
I don't call it fairy dust. I look at it as persistence. I talked to them when we first started this journey in June, when the change that happened, was talking about being persistent. And I meant on the field, away from the field, good, bad moments, and making sure that we're persistent in all our actions. That it could be good, it could be bad, but if we keep showing up and continue to stick to what we think we're good at and that we think we're on a good path, then things will eventually change. It's taken, for sure, time to get there. And there's been good moments and bad moments, but being persistent, I think, has been the main message for me.
This team has had a lot of moments. Where does that moment stack up in Game 3?
I don't know. People keep asking that question, like, is this the biggest game or is this the best moment we've had? I think the best moment is still to come, and that's what I really hope for. It's definitely, as I walk away from games, like, we've had some really cool memories that we've made together, and that's why, for me, that's why I do this, is creating those lifelong memories, and that'll be up there hopefully at the end, but hopefully not the biggest memory of the year.
Is there anything in your career that even compares to the last month plus?
No, I mean, it's all new action for me. Like, it's a different perspective, and being in a different role. As a player, I had certain moments that were great, and there was highs and lows. But yeah, and from this side of it, this has definitely been a memorable one.
What does your family think of all this?
They're enjoying the moment. I've been telling the players, I tell them the same, like, let's stay present, stay where our feet are. Sure. Let's really enjoy every day that we can. Like, that was our goals as a family, and myself, to my family, that I really want to enjoy each day. So they're enjoying it. They're a huge part of myself and everybody's family is a huge part of what they're doing and why we can have success or why we do what we do. We want to support them, but they in turn support us in all the moments.
Off the field, what does Rob Valentino do to stay sane through this run personally for you?
Just stay consistent with my life. I'm a dad of 2 kids and a husband, so that keeps me busy enough. Taking my son to soccer on the Monday and Wednesday and Thursday, and if I get to a dance class or a gymnastics, then I'm there. Or if I can sneak in a date with my wife, like, I just try to squeeze those moments with my family as best I can. They keep me very, very consistent. They keep me grounded in that way. Not that I would ever blow up and get a big head or anything like that, but they keep me on a normal schedule.
Do you do things to take your mind off soccer during this run, or has it been pretty much nonstop on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, like, normally in a season when you're away, you're starting to think about the team or the game or things that are coming up. But I do try to. I try to just stay consistent. When I'm with my family, I'm with my family, and I try to put the focus there. They're my main thing that I say distraction, but they're not a distraction. They're a joy to be around. So whenever we're together, I'm making sure that my focus is there, and then when I have to turn the focus to our work, then I turn it to the work.
How did that first stint as interim manager a few years ago maybe prepare you for this second time around?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, there's similarities, and there's a lot of ways that it's different. Each moment has been different because there's different players and different circumstances. But being on the touchline is different. Like, when you're an assistant, you can support in a whole different way. When you're the interim head coach, it feels different, and decisions are going. You're the one making them. So there's that I was able to lean on those experiences, the good moments and the bad moments that happened before, or things that worked during that time. I can rely on. That's helped for sure.
Did a little Twitter stalking. I saw your last tweet was a quote tweet of somebody else's tweet. He said something regarding committed to the process and not the results.
Mm-hmm. If the result changes, does it change you?
How difficult is that for somebody to learn, and how difficult is that for somebody like yourself to preach during this kind of stretch for you guys?
I don't find it difficult. It's what out of life, like, it's what I really enjoy seeking out. I seek out, it's not only just about a result, an end product, it's about enjoying the process or the journey that you're on. Like, we spend so much time in the actual game, in that moment, and that whether it's a victory or whether it's a defeat, that moment lasts, it's a brief time. So you spend more time in, whether it's training or whether it's in a meal room or it's in video sessions, you spend more time in that process and that journey part. So I want to enjoy that, and I want to make sure that my enthusiasm stays the same from day one to the last day, that I have the same enthusiasm going into it, that I can keep very consistent. And like, those quote tweets come from Inky Johnson, who's an Atlanta guy, and it's somebody that I found a lot of. I feel like we have a lot of conversation. It's a one-way conversation, him to me, in the mornings when I'm just watching things and trying to find that inspiration at times. But he's been in one that I cannot say I align with in the way he sees life.
Garth had some interesting comments on the radio recently about the personalities that he felt needed to be changed in order to achieve the long-term goals that this organization has. Clearly this is a group on the field now that believes in itself. Mm-hmm. What would you say has changed between then and now?
It's hard to pinpoint if there's like one certain thing. I think at the end of the day, like, results help affirm a message, like confirm a message that you're trying to send to the team, or confirm that belief that they should have in each other. We were hoping that the results would be consistent over more of a period of time earlier, but like where they're hitting now, like this is the most important time. So I think that has helped. There's no doubt about, like, the results and the way they have come about. They've come from different players that have been playing, some players that haven't played. So I think that part for me just reaffirms the team message. So I think that kind of all ties into it, and the timing of it is really good.
Mm-hmm. I think one thing that I've heard from a couple guys is when you stepped in, you implemented the one-on-one meetings, the conversations about, greater purpose, identity, things like that. I think it's funny that off the field stuff is, truly translated to what you guys are doing on the field. How much of a role do you think those conversations with guys have played in terms of getting people to, believe and understand that you guys were capable of getting to this place?
I look at it as the foundation, like the relationships that we have, and I'm not talking about just on the field. I'm talking about more of like the personal relationship, or getting as close to a personal relationship that you can have. Like that foundation is what'll drive you when the moments get tough. Do you have something to back up on, that you have a connection, or it's something that you can kind of grasp to? Because if it's just an environment where you challenge and criticize, like I think it becomes difficult, especially when things don't go a positive direction. It's the way I believe that we should be. I'm really interested in them as people, so I find I learn a lot about people and their different cultures or their different backgrounds. But that ends up being the foundation piece. We talked to, there's some meetings that we did earlier about the ikigai, like finding your purpose in life, not only in your job but in life. So to tap into that, I've asked them to do that for themselves, and I do it for myself and my staff, so that we figure out, what do we do on the field, and what's our passion there, and why we show up to work, and what we're good at. But ultimately, like, why do we do what we do, and why are we who we are? And that becomes critical in times like this.
Might be tough to single out one person, but is there one guy in particular that's done a good job of kind of demonstrating that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is hard to single guys out. There's a lot of them. I mean, I don't have one in particular.
Yeah, after everything happened in June, is there a moment in particular that sticks out to you, that, whether it was a conversation you had or just a moment of clarity that, you realized, this season is salvageable. We can do some special things still?
No, not one moment. I just thought, you never know I didn't know how long I'd be in this position. Right. There was nothing ever guaranteed, and still not. So he just was taking every day as it came, and knowing that we got to do our best to salvage what we've got. So it was just trying to turn over the next page and get to the next game, and making sure that we can start the process of getting better results, and just sticking to that process, and when the next day shows up, you're there to do the work and hopefully make it better.
Can you try to put into words what Brad Guzan means to this team right now?
Yeah, I don't have beautiful words, but he is so important. He's what I've said about, like, persistence, consistency. His personality is very infectious. I think the building, or like the team, ticks how he does. He's got a great level of intensity and seriousness when it crosses the white lines, but then when it's time to have a laugh and a joke, he's the first one making sure there's a laugh and a joke. And he's been that way from as long as I've known him. When he was in a bad moment with his injuries, like, he's been very consistent. And there's no wonder he's played as long as he has and been as successful as he has.
How much more important has a leadership figure like that been in a year like this?
Really, really important. I mean, when you face adversity and you face tough times, like, you really find out a lot about people, and they've got two options. They can give up, or they can fight back, and he is one that doesn't give up. He fights back, and he can't guarantee that he's going to have the results, but I know that you're going to get something. You're going to get a response from him. He won't back down. So that to have your leader, your captain like that, it's easy to follow.
Let's talk a little bit about Orlando here. I know you got some time off to prepare for them now. You said you're not a tactical genius. Clearly, whatever that meant worked for Miami. Is it the same recipe, rinse and repeat? I know it's a different team, but is there some of the same there, some of the same mojo going into this Orlando match?
Yeah, I mean, look, like I say I'm not a tactical genius. It's not like it's just where I put my energy and my thought is. There's tactics are important, and then there's the other part of like the human element and the aspect of that I put a lot of energy into. But yeah, the tactical game plan and those things it'll be different. Like you can't think you can roll out the same ideas and the same thought process for every opponent. Everything, there might be a little wrinkle that we look at differently. I've got a lot of respect for Orlando. They've been perennial team that has found rhythm, especially during this time during the playoffs. A great coach, and they've had good players. So they're obviously we just played them towards the end of the regular season as well, or at the last day of the regular season. So there's some familiarity there too. So we had different tactics in that game that will be implemented in this game too.
In terms of having success on the road for you guys right now, is there something to that? Is there something to getting away from home and just kind of locking in on yourselves and clearly, I mean, it's working for you guys on the road right now.
Yeah, knock on wood that it continues. I don't know, that's been like in the offseason, that was a question that we all asked ourselves as a staff, and it was something that we struggled with before. I think in this league, it's funny, like you look at other sports in America, and it's not that big of a difference. You're playing on the road or playing at home.
Sure.
You don't see these big influx or these fluxes. You don't see them as much. But for me, like I only attest it to that. I tell them to block out the noise, and I don't mean that on like just the negative. I mean on the good. Like yeah, you can harness energy from your home crowd, great, but you should be giving them energy, not the other way around. Right. So my message to them has been the same, like continue to stay on your path of blocking out noise, and no matter if you're home or away, like the venue shouldn't change how you act.
Last thing on Orlando, will you guys go back to that film much from that previous game, or will it be a completely new situation?
Yeah, it'll definitely help us in that learning part. As a staff, we'll for sure be looking at it. We have looked at different instances, and like I said, there will be probably tweaks that we'll have to look at and things that they did in that game and then they did in their last series as well.
Like you said, obviously no one knows what the future holds. Has that been helpful in terms of just this team enjoying the ride, being right here, right now, and having success in the present moment?
Like someone asked me about success, like what's the definition of that? And ultimately at the end of this season, there's one team that gets to say like it was complete success, but I have a different definition of what this year will be success to me. So my process of that is different than what maybe others might think.
Has that also helped you personally, being in the interim role right now, not knowing what the future holds, just in terms of being present with this group and enjoying that ride though?
Yeah, it's been much, I don't want to say it's easier or harder, but that's the way I look at it, just staying present and not thinking too far ahead, because I don't want to miss the good moments, and I don't also want to miss the learning moments, that when it gets difficult, I want to make sure I learn something from that and apply it and be able to get better and help the group or help us get into a better position. So it has been, whether it's because I'm an interim or I think this is how I am, so I don't think it changes me. No, titles don't change me. Nothing, like another job wouldn't change me. I just think it's just the way I am. I'd like to stay in the moment because I don't want to miss anything.
For someone who doesn't know, what is it like trying to coach this team right now, but also knowing you're kind of trying out for a head coaching job as well?
I'm not. I'm just doing my job to the best of my ability. Like I said, I'm trying to enjoy every day, and that's what I am doing. So it's really not been the focus of calling it a tryout or looking elsewhere. Like my focus has been on the players and getting us to be at the end of this successful, and at the end of the year looking hopefully to compete for a trophy.
All right, so there you have it. Rob Valentino, the man himself, getting his crew ready for yet another playoff game this Sunday, 3:30 in Orlando against Orlando City. He told me that, he obviously having played there during his playing career, he thinks that atmosphere isn't quite on par with what Atlanta United delivers at the Benz, but he said those fans are very similar to Atlanta's in the sense that they show up, and it's a rivalry, right? You got Atlanta and Orlando. In the little rivalry dynamic there as well. So it's going to be a crazy atmosphere down there Sunday afternoon in Orlando at 3:30. Looking forward to talking more about this one throughout the rest of the week on Atlanta News First. That is not the only Atlanta United content we have for you, though, because our very own Atlanta News First sports director, Bailey Burmaster, she was actually able to do something pretty cool and hop on a Zoom with Brian Dunseth, who is going to be the analyst on the Apple TV broadcast for this match on Sunday. So she was able to pick his brain a little bit about everything going into this match, and including whether or not he thinks that Rob Valentino deserves the full-time head coaching job with Atlanta United. So let's listen to a little bit of that right now.
Sounds like such a softball question, but what do you make of Atlanta United? Because this season, as all of the players have discussed it, has been a roller coaster, from getting rid of Gonzalo, finding a new, getting rid of technical director, shipping off Gigi. I mean, you name it, Thiago. I mean, it's been a crazy year for the Five Stripes.
Yeah, I don't even know if you can write a script that would be as believable as what reality has been this season. And my partner, Max Brados, we call him T.O. Max, Uncle Max. He and I have done a couple of games this season, and the run of form and the morale and the performances, you're just like, this team's kind of dead to rights. There's no chance that they're going to have an opportunity to rectify whatever's been going on, not only just on the scenes, but then behind the scenes as well. I'm fortunate enough to know Garth Lagerwey pretty well, having been out here at Real Salt Lake with him for so many years. And the moment that you felt like, okay, these were the decisions that were starting to happen, whether you talked about Gonzalo Pineda back in June, you talked about the summer transfer window with Thiago and Giacomakis and Caleb Wiley, and then thinking about Rob Valentino and like what a crazy job this has to be for the second time to kind of step into this moment where it's like, all right, boys, like, let's just try to do what we do well. Let's control the controllables and let all of the other outside noise happen. And then for Carlos Bocanegra to be relieved of his position as well, to go into decision day. And I've been a part of these teams where you're like, can we just have one thing go well? Can we just like score first? Can we like not concede via VAR penalty in the 90th plus 12? Can we just do like something go our way? To see the decision day result. And then to think about like from Saturday to Tuesday, you got to go to Montreal. And I'm watching the game, and the 93rd minute, a penalty goes against them. I'm like, oh my God, like not this way. And they end up going through on penalties. And then, 3 days later, they're in Miami. And to see kind of this momentum start to build, it's extraordinary. And then to see, I call him Uncle Arthur, Arthur Blank, being down in Miami and just seeing kind of his emotion and Garth pumping in the background, seeing Guzan stuck in the net like a fisherman's catch. To the legend of Dax McCarty. You have just all these amazing storylines that's kind of like, it almost feels like it's written in the stars that their trajectory in these playoffs aren't anywhere close to being finished.
You talked about Dax McCarty, and we actually got to talk to him earlier at training. And I just asked him, I was like, you've seen a lot of ball, you've played a lot of ball. Where does this season rank just when you look at your resume? And he was like, candidly, this has been the most frustrating year of my career. When you hear him say that,
Yeah.
what do you think? Because I feel like that really puts things into perspective for what this team has been through.
Yeah, so full disclosure, I've known Daxie since he was, and I call him Daxie, since he was at UNC. And he came out to train at Real Salt Lake back in 2005. And he was this little like bunny, Energizer bunny with his tail on fire, running around training. We're like, dude, chill out. It's Tuesday. Like, game's not till Saturday. You're just practicing. Like, calm down. And I didn't realize, and no one could have predicted because it's pure luck, right? A player's career at various levels. But to see the career he's had is extraordinary. And to know Dax and to know the cult of personality that is the leader. And there's something that I always, I said this about Kyle Beckerman. I say this about Diego Chara in Portland. There's guys that when they turn like 34, 35, 36, it's never about the money. It's about the competition. It's about the mindset. And Dax is one of those guys, even in like Rondo or 5v2, like his level of intensity, it's fun, but it's like this unwavering desire to win. Guzan, the big old polar bear, is the same exact way. So I can see why it's so frustrating because you've got two guys that are quintessential leaders, spiritual and physical inside that locker room, and yet with almost like the gutting of the best players and those personalities, I can see a way in which it would be incredibly frustrating, not just the results, but like, guys, us as the older guys can't just be the leaders. We can't just be the voice. You guys have to find your own leadership skills, your own voice. And I think in a way, it probably happened, but it probably happened in a unique environment of that failure created the opportunity for this group to grow. And Rob Valentino at the helm is kind of a perfect example of a man that understands who he is. And I think leads with, in my humble opinion, with such dignity and respect that, whether he stays in Atlanta going forward or he doesn't, I have a tough time believing Rob Valentino is not going to be a head coach in Major League Soccer next season.
You talked about that you've called a couple games and kind of dating back to that Montreal game for Atlanta. What have you seen differently tactically that has kind of helped them find this success that they're having?
Injuries. I mean, it sounds but I was just going through my notes, and you should see I'm just a psychopath with like all my notes and games and all my things. Because I just got done with like the U.S. men's national team game, and I come home and I'm just like jotting everything down and trying to catch up and make sure I'm on top of it. And I went back. I went back from even or decision day, Orlando and Atlanta, and Orlando hasn't changed. 4-2-3-1, tried and trusted, 60 minutes in. It's going to be like Duncan McGuire and Luis Muriel. It's going to be Nico Ladero. Those guys are coming in. That's Oscar Pareja, my former teammates, like bread and butter. But for Rob, it's that, decision day to Montreal, to Miami, and then you lose two defenders in the first 15 minutes. And Brooks Lennon is a huge loss because he was out here with me in Salt Lake. He's an Energizer bunny up and down the field, like lung capacity. He's like the 2024 version of Frankie Hayduk back in the day, who just like never got lactic acid in his hamstrings. Really annoying, by the way, in fitness tests. But it was that first leg where I felt like he was in for like a big decision. And it was, okay, I have to make a choice to not only deal with the injuries of two players, my right center back and my right back in the first 20 minutes, but I also have to think Lionel Messi, Jordi Alba, Busquets, Luis Suarez, all these guys flying at me. So he went to five. He went to five in the back. And I think playing Dax is like kind of that little pivot holding six. And I'll go super tactical for a second. You get both outside backs getting forward. You ask Saba to play a little bit deeper with more of a responsibility of tracking. You play Dax in that little holding pivot. So you've got your three contained. So effectively your numbers up in transition moments. And then you're looking for these minuscule little kind of data points where if they're vulnerable in possession, once you win the ball, how quickly can you get in behind? And that's where I thought the mismatch was in favor of Atlanta United against Miami. So to very simply put it, injuries, I think, dictated a change of shape. The change of shape made them much more secure defensively in that matchup in particular against Miami, they were going to succeed with a little bit of help, a little bit of invention, and then ultimately riding the wave of whatever this looks like. But as I say that, I'm really intrigued to have the conversation over the next 48 hours with Rob personally, because
All right, we are running a little short on time, so I got to cut away from that. But obviously, very excited for Sunday with Atlanta United and Orlando. But the Atlanta sports news of the night: Chris Sale, your National League Cy Young Award winner. He is actually speaking to the media right now on Zoom as we speak. Had to pull him away from his family and the celebration there. But we will have more from Chris coming up tonight at 11 on Atlanta News First. Just some quotes from him in the last few seconds here. He said, "I think I appreciate it more because it reminds me of the people that helped me get here." Talk about just the longer the waiting, the sweeter something is. And he has waited a long time, but very well deserving for Chris Sale. We are out of time. That's going to do it for tonight on Sports Tonight. Join us back on Atlanta News First at 11 for much more. Have a good night, guys.